and welcome to How to Write a Comic Outline. I'm currently making my own comic graphic novel series. In preparation for that and working on other comics throughout the last 8 years, I've done a lot of research on story structure, outlining, and basically just little ways of making the comic creation process a lot easier because it can be very overwhelming. And if you're looking to make your own comic or graphic novel and you're a little bit overwhelmed by the process or just don't know exactly where to start, starting with an outline is a fantastic place. You can get all your details, all your structure down, planned out, so that when you start scripting or even laying out your pages, it's going to be a lot more manageable and you're going to know the direction that you're going in. So a few essential questions that you want to ask yourself to start are: what's your genre? What's your story about? What do your characters want? What obstacles stand in their way of getting those things? And what is your plot type and your story arc type? Before getting into that, we're going to ask, what is your story about? When we're talking about what your story is about, we're not just talking about the basic plot, but also the themes and the philosophy of your story. And in that sense, we can break it up into two sections. One is, what is your story about on the surface, and what is about at its core. So to start, what is your story about on the surface? This involves your basic plot and genre. So to give you an example, my graphic novel series, The Grey, is about a dark fantasy world where humans live in a utopian city while monsters and mutants are banished to an anarchic outer land. So once you have that established, you can start thinking about what is your story about at its core. And this is referring to the theme of your story, essentially. If you combine these together, you get a logline. Then getting into genre and subgenres, there are way more than I've listed here, but we're just going to start with a few. So you have fantasy, you have horror, cyberpunk, dystopian, space opera, romance, thriller and suspense, western, mystery and crime, and historical fiction. So once you've narrowed down the genre, you can start thinking about your characters. Essentially, when you're talking about what your characters want, you're thinking about their goals. And after you establish your characters' goals, wants, and needs, you can think about what obstacles stand in the way of them achieving these. This is boiling down to essentially your main conflict. And I talked about this already in my lesson on how to write basic story structure. Now that you've established your genre, your logline, your plot, your characters, choose a plot type and a story arc type. After you've chosen your broader plot type, you can delve into establishing character arcs. So to start off, we have a positive character arc, we have a flat character arc, a negative character arc, and then finally you have the corruption arc. So now that you've answered all those basic questions, you're ready to get started on actually writing your outline. So first, you're going to choose your genre and your subgenre. After that, write your logline, state your theme, then write out your character's goals, wants, and needs. Choose one of the 7 types of plots, one of the 4 types of character arcs for each of your characters, and finally choose your series and individual arc. So when you're outlining those arcs, you can start by drawing out your series arc. This is, remember, the arc for your overall story. And after you've done that, you can break it into your individual arcs, your smaller story arcs. Once you're done drawing that out, you can start fleshing out each of those events and filling in gaps and details. This is all up to personal preference, but this is how I like to do it. So to start off, break your outline into sections, beginning, middle, and end. And then after that, break things down further into books, chapters, scenes, and pages. Even pages you could leave out at this stage if you don't want to get too specific. Other things you want to include are key character details, key setting details, important literary devices. You're also going to want to include just basically other key moments. If you have a certain piece of dialogue that a certain character absolutely has to say at a specific point in the story, whether it's for the purposes of foreshadowing, character development, jot that down in your outline. Once you've done that, you basically have a full outline and all the necessary information that you need to start writing a good script. I hope this gives you a good starting point for just getting that comic made that you've been thinking about and maybe have been not sure how to start it. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, message me on Instagram. And if you want to check out my graphic novel series, The Grey, that I talked about, you can find it on Webtoon. I hope this helps, and thank you for being here, and here's to making comics.